welcome to the Mother Daze podcast. I am one of your hosts, Teresa Palmer.
And I'm Sarah Wright Olsen. And we are joined today by our beautiful guest, who I'm so excited about, who's actually going to, I think, jump right in with helping us breathe a little bit. Is that right?
That is correct. You should have seen us 5 minutes ago. The senior citizen over here was in a slight panic about, I just want to say I'm turning 70 here. And the fact that I can do any of this, yes. I'm really impressed with myself.
Amazing.
But, Sarah saved the day.
Yeah, she's our tech guru. I literally just like dropped out of the screen and was like, I'll just have a little wee nap while these guys figure it out, since I'm horrendous with tech. I suck at it and she's great at it.
Yeah, exactly. I thought we could start out, because this is something great for mothers anyway. Why don't we do a little breathing exercise?
I love it.
All right. Because this is something that will take a minute or two. Will kind of drop us down into being a little bit more present. And so let's just first start out with a deep inhalation and a cleansing breath. Another deep cleansing breath. And another one. Okay, so now we're going to do a vagal nerve activation breath. And I will talk you through it. And it's just a beautiful, simple little breathing exercise, because in motherhood, you need this.
Mm-hmm, yes.
Okay. So we're going to close your eyes, breathe in to the count of 4. So deep breath, 2, 3, 4, and hold 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And inhale again, 2, 3, 4, and hold 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And one more just really deep breath to as many counts as you can, and exhale with a big sigh. So here we are.
Feels good.
Amazing.
Well, and now we need to introduce you to all these relaxed daisies who have also joined us.
That's right. Now that all of our daisies are feeling really good and relaxed and in their body and grounded, now we can introduce you to our guest today, Jenefer Palmer, who is the formulator, founder, mother of OSEA and of 3 children. Is that right? 3 kids?
That's correct. Yeah.
And you already said that you're 70 years old, which, by the way, I've always been a lover of OSEA. I mean, I know your daughter, Melissa, and I'm obsessed with the brand, have been for so many years. But your skin is absolutely stunningly gorgeous.
Yeah, and next level.
And 70 to me is very young. And so,
thank you.
Yes.
Well, I'm actually turning 70 on the winter solstice.
Oh,
but I'm
wow.
very excited about it and really looking forward to it. And it's just incredible to start a new decade. And
how exciting. Are you having a party?
You know, even better, my son is having he's not. His wife is having a second child, and the due date is the day before my birthday. So that's what I call a party.
Yeah, me too, by the way.
Oh my God. That is so
what
amazing.
Number grandchild will this be for you?
This will be my second grandchild, and my husband has 2 grandchildren also. So lucky me, I have 4.
Oh,
yeah.
my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
What a dream.
Being a grandmother. Oh.
It's really true. You know, that old expression, grandchildren are God's way of thanking you for being a parent. And let me tell you, it's true. Because after my granddaughter was born, I was so obsessed. I called up my former therapist, a very wise woman. She was 88. And I said, I think I have a problem. I'm obsessed with my granddaughter. And she started laughing. And she said something so insightful, which was, and I said, and also I worry about her. I think about her. And I was never a big worrier when I was a parent. And she said, when your children were younger, you had to really tend to their survival. That was the most important thing, keeping them alive. And now what you feel is pure love because you're not worried about their survival on a day-to-day moment. It's just this pure love.
Oh,
so, yeah.
That is so beautiful. I mean, I'm already looking forward to being a grandparent one day.
Me too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, I'm a mom of 3. Tez is a mom of 4, and she has a stepson. And so that's just amazing. Well, I want to take you back a little bit before OSEA. Can you tell us a little bit about what you were doing before you started OSEA and then how you kind of found your way to this beautiful brand?
Well, I was always a seeker in my life. And I think it was partly because I'm an adopted person. So I was always seeking. I think underneath it all, I was really seeking my own origin story, which I think is very natural for an adopted individual.
Yeah.
And so in college, I majored in anthropology, and specifically in archaeology.
Wow.
And ended up working in various archaeological excavations. And the last one I ever did, because it was so remote and so isolating, was in the Mideast. And I realized that getting up at 4:30 in the morning and working till 10:30 in the morning because of the heat, and then sleeping all afternoon, and being in this remote area with a few older archaeologists was not how I wanted to live my life as a young woman, you know. So I came back to the U.S. and I asked my grandmother for guidance. She was really the matriarch of our family. She was definitely one of the very first women chiropractors, if not the first. She graduated in 1919 from chiropractic school.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Is it the one in Iowa? Is it
in Iowa? Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. And it was actually started by I think B.J. Palmer. And I'll tell you how I came to have Palmer as my last name.
Yes, please.
So my grandmother had my mother when my mother was her 6th child.
Oh,
and
wow.
She thought she was going through menopause until my mother kicked her. And my grandmother was, and I'll get back to my grandmother, because like any good story, it does start with your grandmother. And so this was after she'd gone to chiropractic school. She went to chiropractic school when she had 5 children.
Wow.
Packed up the whole family from New York City, moved to Davenport, Iowa, and just took care of the kids and went to chiropractic school.
Hero.
Yeah. And so when my mother kicked her and she realized she was pregnant, her comment was, well, if it's a girl, it's a boy, I name it Palmer. And my mother was born in 1922, and her first name was Palmer. Can you imagine? Yeah. And so then when I was born, that was my middle name. And so I was Jenefer Palmer Clement. And then I got married, I got divorced, and I thought, I just want to take the name Palmer as my last name because it had already been my middle name.
Yeah.
And my mother had passed away, and it was so much a part of my legacy. So that's how I became Jenefer Palmer. And then Melissa was so inspired, she changed her last name too.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
I wondered about that because I was reading about that because I know that Melissa's last name is Palmer. So that's so cool, the origin of that name.
I love that last name. I don't know why. There's something about it. It's just got a good ring to it, you know?
Yeah,
it's just
it really
something about
is.
that last name.
Yeah, exactly. and you know, it was interesting because, and this I would say is a wonderful piece of advice that was given to me by one of my mentors. When I got divorced, she had said, just use Jenefer Palmer and always have your own professional name. Even if you get remarried again and you want to change your name legally because it makes travel with children more easily, you should always have your own name for your own professional identity. And I thought that was great advice.
I didn't take that advice. I feel like I need to. Do you think it's too late for me to change my name in the industry?
I don't know.
I think it's too late. But it's not
too late?
It's not your married name. That's your name.
That's my name.
Yeah. But Palmer is a great last name.
It is.
Do you know what? I've been trying to convince my husband to take my name.
He should.
Because my kids to have my name. All my 4 kids are Palmers, and they didn't take their dad's last name because I was like, I love my dad. My dad also only had 3 girls. And so that we always just thought that the name would end up dying with him.
Right.
But now I've had 4 children. I've got 2 boys and 2 girls. Everyone's Palmers. And now we're like, Mark, jump on board. Be a Palmer.
What's his last name?
Weber.
Oh, he could do better with Palmer. Sorry out there to the
Mark
Webers. To all the Webers out there, I still respect you, but I'm
That's
biased.
true. But come on. I mean, it's a great name.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So anyway, I came back to the U.S. and I asked my grandmother for advice. What should I do with my life? And I was already, I think, leaning into the healing arts. And I just thought for sure she would say, study chiropractic. But instead, she said, study the healing arts. There's so much to learn out there. And I really took it to heart. And I studied shiatsu and acupressure and Ayurvedic medicine and Traeger work and a little Feldenkrais and polarity therapy. And that's and this was in the late 70s. And that's kind of how I started my career. So it's been a great journey. And I ended up, I built up a private practice. And then I ended up in the early 80s. I was part of kind of a new age healing community, which I tried out for a moment. And we all lived in this place called Marietta Hot Springs.
Oh, wow.
And I was the spa director, which was kind of funny because I had never been inside a spa before. But I somehow, because, I think there's a lot of destiny in life. I think things just happen that you don't understand, but then when you look back, it all makes sense. And I think I probably ended up in the spa because I had this multicultural background. I'd grown up partly in Switzerland. I had studied cultural and physical anthropology and archaeology. And I ended up at the spa. And and now keep in mind, I was your happy hippie when I ended up at this spa.
Right.
Sounds like a dream.
I know. I'm like, I want to go there.
I was washing my face with water, and that was about it. A little almond oil to hydrate my skin. I've never really been a makeup wearer. I put a little lipstick on because
it's very cute.
Thank you. Because that's about it. I still don't wear any makeup. And I learned about skincare because all these sales reps came and tried to pitch me their products.
Yeah.
And I did what I've done my whole life. I literally learned how to read at the grocery store because we were the family. Can you imagine 1958, going to kindergarten. And in my lunch was a baked sweet potato, apple slices, special order non-hydrogenated peanut butter that was crunchy.
Oh my gosh.
And a couple raisins. And
wow.
I was definitely laughed out of kindergarten lunchrooms.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
You were just like before your time.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
you just
for
like
sure.
were on the way. But also I'm super jealous that you were allowed to put peanut butter in the lunch boxes back then.
All
I want to do is like do like nut butters for my kids' lunches, but you can't anymore.
Yeah, I understand. And so I'd always been very health and food conscious. So when it came to skincare, because I had studied chemistry, biology, physiology, I knew about transdermal penetration. So when I started reading the ingredients of these products that were getting pitched to me, I was kind of horrified.
Yeah.
And nobody was really thinking about that in the early 80s. And I think I really have to give credit to my European education, because transdermal penetration was talked about much more in Europe in the early 80s or in the 70s when I was there, than it was in the US. I mean, of course, now we have nicotine patches, estrogen patches, the whole bit. So I just thought there has to be a better answer. And that's really what started me on my journey. And, our community ended up, our little group of people ended up selling the spa because we weren't really equipped to run a hotel operation. It seemed like a great dream. And then, as I said, a great dream. But after I realized that dream was over, I just felt so called to start a skincare company. And I always feel like that OSEA chose me, because my definition of a perfect vacation is not brushing my hair for a couple weeks and then asking one of my kids to pick out my, ratted out dreads from I've been on airplanes with my daughter just going, Mom, you really should have brushed your hair. And I said, it just felt so good not to.
I can relate. My hair's so wild and matted, and the amount of times my kids have sat with me as we're like combing through my hair.
Right.
It takes hours.
All that little, It's like,
the frizz.
Yeah, exactly. So, I went back to having a private practice. And then it took me about 10 years to really develop my concept, figure out how to convert, kind of typical skincare product concepts more into green chemistry using more natural derived ingredients. It took me 3 years to come up with the name OSEA, because I wanted something. It was funny because back then in the late 80s, early 90s, it was all about naming skincare companies after yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
And
yes.
I thought
Elizabeth Arden and like.
But what a great thing that
Oh.
you never did that, because that didn't turn out good for anybody that did that.
No, it ties you to it, and you can't. And I wanted to create something so much bigger than just me. And I wanted a name that really expressed something more, because OSEA has never been founded in beauty. It's always been about wellness. And so finally I came up with OSEA, and it means ocean, sun, earth, atmosphere. So it's really the elements of this world, or the elements of life, or the elements of beauty.
That's so pretty.
And I wanted also a short name because it's got to go on a bottle.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yes.
And this is such an interesting story too. I knew from the beginning that I wanted it to be marine based. And I spent over 10 years creating it, building it, launching it. And about a year after the product was launched, I was doing a training at a destination resort that was carrying our products. And I had this huge aha moment where the idea came from. I mean, they must have thought I was crazy, because all of a sudden I went, wait, this is why I use seaweed. And everyone's like, yeah, okay, this is a Marine base. Like, okay.
You're like, wait a minute.
A little bit of an awkward pause. And I said, it's my grandmother. Because every family has what I call family mythologies. Each family has belief systems that we think everybody else has, but they don't. My first awareness of what I call family mythologies are when I went to college and I discovered that my roommate thought everybody ate. Brace your stomachs. I hope neither one of you are pregnant and nauseous. This would not go well. She loved eating peanut butter, mayonnaise, and bacon sandwiches.
Oh my
atrocious.
God.
I mean, it's so atrocious. It's like, there's so many things wrong with that.
Yes.
So, on white bread, of course.
Oh.
Yeah. And a little smear of margarine on the other side of the bread. Yeah. So my family mythology was the ocean is a source of healing. And where that came from was my grandmother was really a tough cookie. When she was born in Hamburg, Germany, and when she was 16, her family said, hey, we really can't afford to feed you anymore. We bought you a ticket to New York. By the way, we sent your brother there about 12 years ago. See if you can find him.
Jeez.
Yeah. They were not helicopter parents, to say the least.
Yes.
And she went to New York. Luckily, she did find her brother because it was a small German community in the early 1900s. And she married a fellow German immigrant, had 5 children. And how she ended up becoming a chiropractor was she had a dream. Well, first, let me go backwards. First, she felt that a chiropractor had saved one of my uncle's life.
Oh, wow.
So her response was, I need to go to chiropractic school. She was very like, this is how it is.
Yeah.
Well, she also, so here she was a feminist. She was a type A. I think she was a workaholic. I mean, she was all these things. And one day she injured her leg and she became bedridden for a few months. And then one night she had a dream. And in her dream, it was the ocean will heal her. And to have my grandfather carry her down to the beach. This was the same woman that the night that the Titanic sank, she woke up screaming in hysterics. And my grandfather, who was a New York City policeman, was just about ready to get her in a straitjacket. She was that out of control. Then the next morning, of course, when it came in on the telegraph wires, it was, whoa. So
that's
whenever
wild.
my grandmother whenever my grandmother said, I had a dream, there was,
everyone's like, oh, what was it?
What was it? And I hope it wasn't about me.
Yeah, exactly.
And she's so connected to the ocean. That connection to the ocean to like have the feeling of what was happening in the ocean.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. And so he carried her. He didn't argue with her because when she said she had a dream, everything stopped and that was it. And it was January and it was New York.
Wow.
Bayside, New York. I mean, can you imagine? There was snow on the ground.
Yeah. Wow.
But she found seaweed. He put her in the water. She felt a little bit better. They continued to swim every day of the year for decades. That photograph that you see of her on the website, that's not sand. That's snow.
Wow.
That she's standing on. Because every New Year's Day, the newspapers would come take pictures of them.
Wow. Oh my goodness. What a woman.
So
what a story.
I grew up, even though I grew up between Ohio and Switzerland, it didn't matter. I always knew the ocean was a source of healing. And that's where that connection comes from, is my grandmother and her vision. And the ocean did heal her. She was back roaring in about 6 weeks.
Wow.
And we just recently found an article where she was on the verge of getting her leg amputated.
What?
And that's how, yeah, I know. We never knew that part of the story. It's a little gory. We don't mention that on the website.
That's
but
wild.
yeah, isn't that amazing?
It's amazing.
And they started one of the first polar bear clubs. And
wow.
yeah.
Well, I mean, not only is the ocean so healing, but also we know now that like cold plunging is so healing for your body too. Which,
all of it, and the seaweed and the whole thing.
I love how progressive like everyone was in your family.
Like, come
it
on.
was like you already knew all the things before they became the fads.
You know, I just sort of pictured you as like someone who was like making all of these amazing things in California in your kitchen, and you were like a hippie and you're on a commune. Like that's how I always have pictured you in my mind.
Yeah, that's kind of true. Yes, kind of true.
Was that sort of your experience growing up and raising, because you've got 3 kids, and I know your daughter is the CEO of the company.
Yes. And so raising my family in Malibu was such a beautiful experience, because what people don't realize, yes, there's a lot of very wealthy, famous people in Malibu. But when I raised my family, there was also just a community. There's 13,000 people, and it was a relatively mixed community. I mean, there was a few mobile home parks, and everybody there shared this love of the sea. And everybody there was very kind of committed to family life, because we were about a half hour outside of LA without traffic. And sometimes when Pacific Coast Highway got packed with cars, you could be 2 hours away from LA. And we were so lucky. We lived in this kind of big, funky rental house on a third of an acre. And we had big decks, and we slept outside almost every night.
Oh my gosh.
It was really fun. It was so fun. And I used to mix up concoctions in the bathtub, and it's pretty amazing what you can make in your kitchen with a food processor and a scale to weigh stuff. And that's kind of how it all started.
Wow. Oh my gosh. And how beautiful that you get to, like, your daughter's folded into this.
Oh, it's amazing.
Business, and you get to work together. And that is my dream. I want to stay close with my kids forever. And the idea that we might be able to collaborate together one day is heaven.
Well, it's so powerful to actually, I feel so lucky, and it's such a privilege to see my children in the world versus having them come home for holidays.
Yes.
And because let me give, and I'm sure you know this, when your children come home, sometimes they go backwards in age. They regress.
I definitely do around my parents. I go back to my 16-year-old self.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it's just like, it's unavoidable. So, but to see your children in the world around other people and how other people see them, it's just the most amazing experience.
I love that.
And really, the business never would have grown the way it has without her. And I'm always very cognizant of saying the word never, because, you know, when you say never, then it happens, or always, and then it doesn't happen. But it really is true in this case. And the reason why I say never is, first, I couldn't have trusted anybody else. Because I always knew she had my back. She cared about the vision, the brand. And secondly, she's truly brilliant and has worked tirelessly.
I mean, I remember meeting her for the first time. I met her through a friend of mine, and we had the most amazing hang. I had no idea that she was working. She was like the CEO of OSEA at the time. And I was just like totally fell in love with her. And then I found out about OSEA, and I was just like, oh my gosh. I mean, she has the most magnetic energy. And you can, her passion is like, it just overflows. And so, you know, that to me, I was just like, oh, wow, like this is so inspiring what you guys do. And I have to say to you, I was reading all about your connection to the ocean and, you know, the seaweed and everything that you use in the products. And I've always felt very connected to the ocean too. Like my husband, like if he's ever having a bad day, I'm like, I think you need to go for a surf. Like he needs it, you know, he's like, loves the cold water, needs the ocean. And anytime that I've had like heavy things in my life happen, you know, like pregnancy loss, like losing my dad, my husband would be like, you should go out into the water, like go for a paddle or whatever it is. And I will lay there in the ocean and I feel so held and cleansed and just renewed when I'm back. And so I love that your products are made from that. And you can really tell, like every time I use anything of OSEA, and by the way, my husband is obsessed with this. It's called the Sea Bionic Water Cream. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Every time, so he's like a crazy about skincare and he uses it at night and he's always just like, this stuff is the best thing I've ever used in my life. And I'm like, okay, I'll order you another one. It was just his birthday and I went to Erewhon and bought one for him and put it in a bag for his birthday.
Oh my God. So nice. Oh, that's a great little tip because it's my husband's birthday next week.
I always get all of his favorite like things from OSEA and put it in like his favorite deodorants and whatever it is. And I put it all together and I'm like, here you go. You don't have to
Mark stole mine.
Oh, he did.
You know, we've collaborated with you guys a few times. And so I got sent the products and I was like, oh my God, I love these. They're so beautiful. Cut to, they've disappeared. I'm like, where are they? And then I'm like back in Australia. Like I swear I had all these beautiful new products. And then I'm FaceTiming Mark and I can see them in his cupboard in our home. I'm like, I'm not okay with this. You always steal the best things that I have because he's got a really good eye for that stuff as well. He's like Eric.
What would you say is your like greatest source of inspiration now? Like as you guys, because the ocean. Okay.
The ocean.
Still to this day. Wow.
To this very day. And I love the ocean and I love looking at the ocean, but more than that, I love swimming in the ocean. And it's funny because I'll body surf, but I can't even really bear to be in a kayak or on a surfboard or a boogie board because I want to be in the water.
Yeah. I get that.
Or flying through in the tube of the wave, flying through. But it's definitely the ocean.
I remember, you know, Sarah has always had this beautiful connection with the ocean. And I remember I was trying for my third baby and I had like peed on the stick and it was really faint, but then later on it had disappeared and I was really disappointed. I was on that El Capitan. I was at this like camp and I don't go in the water that often. I think because I had a few like freakish experiences when I was younger in the ocean. I've always been in Australia, not with sharks. But anyways, I just had this pull to the ocean and I went in. And even though my heart was really broken, I didn't think I was pregnant. I went in and I got someone's boogie board and my husband's like, what? Who are you? For about 2 hours, I was like, whoa, like in the ocean. I was like, this feels amazing. I don't care that it's cold. This is the most like re-energizing feeling. And then later I went home and I peed again and it was a dark line and I was pregnant with my baby. Yeah. And I was like, she just wanted me to get in the ocean. And then she was like, I'm actually here.
Yeah. Well, you know, they say that looking at the ocean or being in the ocean will activate a vagal nerve response, which the vagus nerve is the master nerve really of the 12 cranial nerves, and it helps put us into that rest and relaxed state. So there's actually a lot of physiological explanations as to the healing power of the water, but everybody gravitates towards the water. I mean,
so true.
It's magic. And I mean, embryonic fluid. I mean, we kind of come from that salt from water and just being in water, any kind of water. Put me in a lake.
Those float chambers. The float chambers are amazing.
I I love those. I love those. Yeah.
Me too. I think, the special thing about OSEA is the beauty industry in general, it tends to lean into the concept of more is more, 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 more. And your brand is really the opposite. It's like you're simplifying. Do you happen to have a favorite system that you use on a daily basis?
Well, I do, and it's pretty consistent.
Mm-hmm.
I wash my face at night, not in the morning, because I think once a day is enough for me. And I would say that probably to anyone, unless you really have more oily, acneic skin. And I tend to just reach for, I don't even think I have all three cleansers, but I often choose the Ocean cleanser.
That's my favorite. Me too.
Yeah.
I love the way it smells. It feels like silk. It's like the best.
Yep. And that product was one of our first 6 original products that we launched in 1996.
Oh my God. I didn't know that. Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was one of the original 6. And it was funny because the packaging, everything is the same. I mean, we've updated a few of the ingredients as newer ingredients became available, but it was in the same bottle, maybe slightly different pump. And people used to say, it's a great product, but your packaging is terrible. And I'm thinking, But so I just turned it into kind of a selling thing. I used to say, well, you can tell we spent all the money on the ingredients and not the packaging. And then maybe about 10 years after that, people said, it's not that ugly. And I'm thinking, well, you're welcome. And,
and now it's like what people strive for is that simplicity and being able to see like what's actually in the bottle that you're using.
Exactly. Right? And then people get mad at us because they say, we couldn't get the last little bit out of the bottle. Well, guess what? You never get the last little bit out of your
You just can't see it.
Tube. You just can't see it.
That's
exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So I use the Ocean cleanser. I love the Dayglow face oil. And I apply it, then I spray with the sea mineral mist because I feel like I kind of almost lightly emulsify on my skin. And then I use the advanced protection cream. And then I spray again. and then if I'm really feeling ambitious, I do another application of Dayglow on top because I think layering, you get a lot of benefit.
Yes. I like the Undaria algae, like the body oil.
Oh, the body oil. I love that.
It's insane.
I like to use that. I actually blend it because I love the Undaria algae body oil, but I'm not always the most patient person in the world because it's kind of oily. And do you know how we make that product?
How?
Oh, it's amazing. I can't even believe I thought of this idea, to tell you the truth.
Yes.
I just feel like I'm just kind of channeling OSEA because it was an amazing idea and it's turned out so well. Is we take these huge vats of Undaria algae. You might know it by wakame. That's more of the common name of it. And we figured out that you have to sort of cut it in a certain way, a certain particle size. And we put it in these huge vats and we let it sit for 3 to 6 months.
Wow.
And then the polysaccharide walls of the algae break down and infuse the botanical oils with minerals. It changes the color. That's why the color is never quite the same because algae gets harvested at different times a year. So, and then we filter out the seaweed and then we add a few essential oils.
Wow.
And that's why when you apply it, it's still oily, but it's not grease ball oily.
That's right.
Yeah. And it's so funny because body oil has become the rage. And sounds a little snarky, but I do snark. I do chuckle a little bit because people are coming out with like golden color body oils, similar in color to ours, but it's the Undaria that really makes it special. And one of my favorite ways to use it is I blend it in my hand with the Undaria collagen body lotion. And to me, that's almost the perfect body moisturizer.
Yes, the combo is so good of those two.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Gosh. I love how you have sort of blended your spirituality into your work. And Sarah and I talk so much on the Mother Daze about our own relationship with spirituality. We talk about manifesting, the law of attraction, our higher self. Can you speak to that for a little bit, if you don't mind? Like, I would love to hear that.
There's different layers of it for me in terms of my relationship with OSEA. The first thing was I wanted to create products with the intention to lift consciousness. I thought, because in this world, either we're lifting consciousness or we're pulling it down. And, you know, we're all here in this world trying to figure it out. And I don't think anybody really knows why we're here, but we're all here. We're all in it together. And we're all going to leave this world too. So I wanted to have that sense of lifting. And I ended up later in my career as a body therapist, I really fell in love with cranial work. And through cranial touch, you really learn how to track minute sensations, micro movements in the body with the rising of the cerebral spinal fluid. There's like an expansion that happens in the system. And it took a while to really be able to tune in deep enough to be able to place your hands on someone's body and track that kind of sensation. But what I learned from that was I could track the sensation of scent on my own system. So when I blend with essential oils, the idea is that I feel this upward rising of sensation. And that's why people love the smells of our product, because they're having actually a much deeper response.
Yes.
And I think that they're also on this next level responding to the intention behind it. So the products are made with intention and with that rising of sensation, which is just really important. And as I said, OSEA has always been based on wellness versus beauty, because you can't have beauty without wellness.
Yeah, that's true.
And actually, wellness is more beautiful than beauty.
100%.
Yeah. And taking care of yourself. And I mean, do you speaking to all of that, that to me sounds like such a wonderful way of like, when I do my skincare routine nowadays, like I take a deep breath, and I'm like putting it on my skin and I'm pressing it into my skin. And I'm just like, for me, it's like a moment for myself. Cause I'm like you, I don't wear, I'll wear like a tinted moisturizer, but like, I have layers of somebody's like, wow, your skin is glowing. And I'm like, they're like, what are you wearing? And I'm like, well, it's a serum and a spray and a moisturizer and an oil.
Right, exactly. That's right.
I'm like, I'm multi-layered, but not with makeup, because I just have been someone who's always wanted to see my skin. And when I don't see my skin, for work or like whatever, it feels weird to me. Like I'm like, oh, these wrinkles are gone, or this is gone, or whatever it is.
Yes.
So would you say that, like, are there any non-negotiables that you have in your life, in your career, like, in your day to day, when we're talking about self-care, or like, your 9 to 5 or whatever it is?
Well, for me, one of the most important things to maintain myself is my daily meditation practice. And I've meditated pretty much every day since I was 21 years old. And the way that I've incorporated it is if I only have 5 minutes, that's all I do. It's not like you have to have your 20 minutes or your half hour or the perfect situation, because I'm a very big believer that doing a tiny little thing every day after 5, 10, 20, 30 years really is incredible, the results that you get. And part of my practice is that I meditate right when I first wake up in the morning. And then I also meditate right before I go to sleep, because as long as I'm alive, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to go to sleep. So then that way I don't have to worry about, oh, I got to do that. So even if it means setting your alarm a little bit before the children, and even just 5 minutes, because I am not a morning person. I'm not that person that pops out of bed at, 6 a.m. I love the morning.
Woo! Yeah.
I'm more like, let me meditate for a few minutes. Let me go get that espresso. But just knowing I'm going to start and end my day with my meditation practice is it's so important to me. And and I think over all these years, it's really built up a lot of strong emotional resiliency within myself.
That's so beautiful. And do you have any advice for mothers out there who are listening, who want to drop the 9 to 5, who their soul, something speaks to something different from what they're doing? What is your advice? Because a lot of people will look at it and be like, well, can I risk it? Can I risk giving up my job to pursue my dreams of building a business?
Well, what I would say, because I built my business also as a single mom. And while I was working, doing my healing practice, is that you have to appreciate those tiny little steps, just what I said before. So how about the analogy of you want to write the great American novel? Well, if you write 1 page a week for 5 years, you have a 250-page novel. And because that might be all you have time to do in 1 week is to sit down. And so I always took a baby step. Every week, it was like, I have to take another little step, another little step. That's why it took me over 10 years. And we live in this culture, which I think is very yang, like, okay, we're going to build it. We're going to raise money. We're going to raise capital. We're going to go. Instead, you can build just step by step. And I think that you create this beautiful tapestry as you grow and evolve. And I think you can build something that will last forever. And I always knew that OSEA would be a global brand when I was sitting in my garage. No one else knew, but I always knew. And I didn't care how long it took. And I would also say to mothers, which is, I identify as the tortoise. Because, that old fable, the hare and the tortoise, we know who won the race.
That's exactly
and
right.
And it's really, I think it's building from more that yin, feminine perspective and allowing yourself to listen to your intuition. And if you're so out there just bang, 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 we got to do it. We got to do series 1 funding, series 2 funding, blah, 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 blah. I think things get lost. And you can, when you take your time and really just build and see the beauty of step by step, because it really is true that it's the journey, not the destination.
I could not agree with that more. It's amazing.
That is like the most beautiful pearl of wisdom that we get to leave our daisies with. Thank you so much for giving us your time. We always say that we appreciate that, just the gift of someone's time. It's
well, you're welcome.
It's meaningful.
And congratulations on your motherhood journey.
Thank you.
And I would say to you and all the daisies out there, yes, it's a struggle. And when they're teenagers, it's even a bigger struggle.
We're scared.
But you know what? I believe that it's truly the sweetest part of life.
Thank you for saying
Yeah.
that. And I feel that to my core. And I love hearing that from you. And thank you so much for being here today.
And thank you for your wisdom
welcome.
and all the things. All right, guys, you have been listening to the Mother Daze. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Bye. Thank you,
Bye,
Jennifer.
Daisy.